Hi guys, thanks for joining me in the backyard again. Thank you to all the subscribers, much appreciated. I notice there's a few new ones there turning up, as I say, much appreciated. Now, this little video presentation has been brought about a comment by a good mate across there in the States by the name of Joe. Now, he's a backyard archer and he builds his own bows. He's builds Penobscot bows, which is those double bows. Very talented man. Always says he's a terrible archer, but I beg to differ there, Joe. Now, what I want to talk about is if you're already into archery and you've been thinking about Asiatic style archery, and you think to yourself, oh, no, too hard, bows with no shelves, shooting off the left-hand side on the the right-hand side on the outside of the bow, and thumb draw and all that sort of stuff. It's just all too foreign, I just can't cope with that. Well, I'm an archer that is actually just learning to shoot off the outside of the bow with a cheaper bow that I started off with. But anyhow, back to what this is all about is if you've been thinking about getting into Asiatic archery and you don't want to have to cope with this shooting off the outside of the bow, you can still shoot off the inside of the bow just like you do with your normal Western style bows. Do I have to worry about all this catcher forward, catcher and talking the bow and all that sort of stuff? Well, with my experience, and this is all coming from what I've learned in the backyard, is no, you don't really have to worry about all this fancy movement with the bow so the arrow clears the bow and all that sort of thing. What I've found through personal experience, these are 31-inch 500 spine carbons, and just like your old English longbows, but have no shelf. And you've got that thing called Archer's paradox. Where the point of the arrow comes back towards the bow when you draw back. When the arrow releases, it goes off to the side like that. Okay? The Archer's paradox. And to compensate for that, you've got to either aim across this way or perform a cut through or torque your bow or something like that. What I personally have found, all I've done is simply manipulated the dynamic spine of the arrow by putting more weight on it. So that when the arrow comes off the bow, shooting Mediterranean grip off the inside of the bow, the arrow will flex around the bow with its dynamic spine. And I get great accuracy by doing that. So if you're frightened or think there's just too much in picking up an Asiatic style bow, it's not really that hard, guys, and it's absolutely a blast. These little things actually they're little pocket rockets. You've got your cheap fiberglass versions, which are like your Toyota Camry. Do the job, swing an arrow at the target, give you lots of enjoyment. Then you've got something like this, AF Archery's product, or alley bow or someone like that. Not top of the line, but extremely good qualities, great performing bows. And these things are like your Corvette or your V8 Mustang compared to these cheaper fiberglass bows that I will say, I do highly recommend that if your budget can stretch far enough to purchasing this type of bow compared to your cheap fiberglass bows when you're starting out, it'll give you so much more pleasure. Absolutely, they're worlds ahead compared to your basic fiberglass bows. But if your budget doesn't extend to the cost of one of these types of bows, by all means, go for your fiberglass. The other way, obviously, to overcome your archer's paradox, your arrow coming back and going forward around your bow, is literally to pick the correct spine for the bow. Now these arrows are technically too stiff for all my bows. If I put a 100 grain tip on this, these arrows will want to fly off to the left, way off target. So the extra 100 grain, 31 inch, obviously if you shorten your arrows, if you're into archery, you know by now, if you shorten your arrows, you stiffen them up, the more weight you're going to have to add onto them to dynamically alter the spine. So now we come back to these little shorter bows. Finger pinch, okay? Simple remedy. There are longer ones on the market that you can quite comfortably shoot with a 3-finger Mediterranean draw. No problem at all. And there again, these are just as good as the smaller ones, very dynamic. The power delivery of this type of bow is just absolutely amazing. This particular one is the Archery GB Mongolian Yuan style bow. And this thing is absolute dynamite. This bow, the power it has, it loves to shoot heavy arrows as well as the minimal grain weight. And as far as length goes, there is a 58-inch Black Hunter. And I don't get finger pinch with either of them. I do have a 60-inch Black Hunter as well in 45 pounds. Might I add, a very good beginner's bow too. Heaps of them on the market. This particular riser I took more off the riser to bring the arrow closer to centre shot. But anyhow, they're Asiatic style bows. Yeah, definitely nothing to be frightened of. If you want something new in your archery experience and you're sick of shooting off the shelf, I've actually seen, if you're worried about shooting off the shelf, I've actually wrapped this grip with a tape. It's like a cloth tape that sticks back onto itself, but you can unwrap it. You can build up layers and layers of it. I've got the grip just feeling right for myself. Obviously it's got a bit of wear there, but I just, if that wears down too much, I've got more rolls of it and I'll just rewrap it again. Very, very simple thing to do. And the cloth feel, nice and comfortable on the hand. As you can see, I've added a bit more to the centre of the grip so it fits in my palm better. because I found the handle on this was a bit too narrow. So that's another thing. If you're worried about the grips on those bows, there's plenty of things you can do to easily customize them for yourself. And using this particular cloth tape stuff, nothing adheres to the leather handle. You can pull it off. It's just like it comes out of the box. Okay, so that's just another point too. If you are worried about the grip on the bows for these Asiatic bows. So now what I'm going to try and do now is just sort of demonstrate. I'll use my little Turkish bow here, or Ottoman style bow. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to aim at the spots on my target. I'm going to hold the bow vertical. And where the arrow lands on the target, this is not an accuracy test for me, by the way. But what I'm going to do is try and show you the spot that I'm aiming at. Either the arrow is going to land in a vertical line with the spot, not left or right. If I shoot left or right, that's just me, poor technique. So what I'm going to try and demonstrate for you about changing the spine of your arrows, shooting a three-finger draw off the inside of the bow, just to demonstrate to you that it's not a daunting process. One thing about these little bows are they're very light in your hand. This thing I think is about 360 grams. Compared to that, like, there's just no comparison. So the other thing is, I find without the weight in the bow, your bow hand, it's a good test to see if you've got a steady bow hand, which is just another skill. It's just about honing your skills as an archer. Same with all bows. That steady bow hand, very critical for accuracy, especially up and down. So let's have a go at try and put some arrows in the right place for you. And I'll just show you on the target what I mean about arrows being vertical, no left or right, with the no shelf and the archer's paradox thing. So not too good, I'll go again. As always, when the camera's rolling, it affects the arrow flight. Glasses. Not bad. Just not happy with the left and the right. There was a couple going left and one going right. So let's get it right. If it's worth doing, it's worth doing right. pretty good. Not the best of happening, but there's two there I'm happy with. You'll just sort of get the point that I'm trying to make as far as your Archer's paradox is concerned. Then we've got one right above the red dot. Another one close. That's just bad shooting. The other one just about on target. Now that just comes down to me as an archer. That's the best one. So guys, if you're thinking about a foray into Asian archery, it's nothing to be frightened of. It's definitely a bit of a unique way, a unique form of archery. You can make it as difficult as you want. If you're trying to decide on what type of Asian bow to buy, Arm & Hammer is the legend when it comes to reviewing all forms of Asiatic bows. If you want to see someone that I'd class as one of the best archers I've ever seen with an Asiatic bow is Miguel Vera Traditional Archery from Puerto Rico. I highly recommend you check his channel out. He's a sniper, an absolute sniper when it comes to using this type of bow. Pardon me. Now Miguel is not really an instructor, he doesn't teach you anything, but he can show you what they're capable of doing with practice. As with all archery, and especially this form of archery, you've got to know your bow, know your equipment. A bow has got to become part of you. This bow has got to be part of your body. And when you get that down pat, you'll find that it comes a lot easier. And it's not that difficult to learn. Just experimenting with the way you grip the bow, basically, and you'll get it down pat. And I've even seen guys put little arrow rest. If you're worried about shooting off your hand, fashion a little piece of wood or a golf tee or something like that, slipped in behind something there, just temporarily fixed or fixed on there, and that alleviates the thing of having to shoot off your hand if you're worried about shooting off your hand. So yeah, there's ways and means to overcome any sort of fears that you have of shooting this type of bow. So anyhow, folks, thanks for joining me again. By no way am I an expert in this sort of thing. I'm just an amateur archer, learning as I go, all self-taught. Hopefully this might help somebody that's on the brink of having a go at Asiatic archery. Hopefully this might just push you over the edge to make that purchase and take a leap. It's a great form of archery. So cheers guys, peace and happiness to everybody. Cheers from down under.